Oleksandr Usyk versus Alex Pereira. Guys, this fight might happen. This fight might just happen. Now, let me remind you, earlier on in the week, Turki Alalshikh signed a deal with TKO and Dana White to form a new boxing league. And, as you know, TKO, WWE, and the UFC are all under one umbrella. They're all under one umbrella. So what does that tell you? It tells you that a potential clash between a UFC fighter and a boxer, Oleksandr Usyk, is possible. Do you know what I mean? Because if there were barriers there, if there were like some problem issues with promoters, we know Dana White doesn't really get along with boxing promoters. But with Turki Alalshikh now signing that deal, it makes things a little bit easier. Do you know what I mean? It makes things a little bit easier. Now, Oleksandr Usyk himself, if you can remember, after the Tyson Fury fight, he came out and said, look, I've only got 2 fights remaining. One of them is he wants to rematch Daniel Dubois because he wants to become 2 times undisputed. So that's understandable. A lot of the fans might not agree with that. They might think Joseph Parker deserves a crack at the title. And I totally understand that sentiment. I've done plenty of videos on that. Go check it out. The second fight that Oleksandr Usyk, wants before he ends his career is to fight the UFC light heavyweight champion of the world, Alex Pereira. You know what I mean? That's like his dream list, his wish list, whatever. Do you know what I mean? He wants Daniel Dubois rematch and Alex Pereira as his last fight in about 18 months' time. And a lot of us, even me, I was thinking, yo, that's not going to happen, man. Dana White is never going to allow that to happen. It's just not happening. Do you know what I mean? It's a fantasy for Oleksandr Usyk. But after that deal that Turki Alalshikh just struck with TKO and Dana White, it's a possibility, man. And you know what? As a Usyk fan as well, even as a fan of boxing overall, like, Usyk's done a lot for the sport of boxing. He's achieved a lot. Do you know what I mean? He's done everything. He's cracked the code. Do you know what I mean? He's won the game. Like, for his last fight, if he wants to have a fantasy fight against a fighter who's from another sport, let's make this clear. UFC and boxing, no, not even UFC. UFC is a brand, but MMA and boxing are 2 completely different sports, man. I myself, I've practiced MMA. I've had a fight in mixed martial arts, yeah? I've had 1 fight. And I've also had fights in boxing, and I coach boxing. Do you know what I mean? And I can tell you right now, 2 different sports, man. And we've seen this movie before. Whenever an MMA fighter crosses over into boxing, we see what happens to them. And it'll be exactly the same thing if the tables were turned. If Oleksandr Usyk steps into the octagon against Alex Pereira, he's going to get smoked like within a couple of seconds. Alex Pereira will end it whenever he wants. Do you know what I mean? I just feel like in MMA, there's way too many tools for you to dismantle your opponent with. Do you know what I mean? I actually feel like, I don't even feel, I know this for a fact that a MMA fighter coming into boxing probably has a better chance of winning a boxing match than a boxer going into MMA. Because in MMA, you've got wrestling, grappling, do you know what I mean? Jiu-jitsu, striking, kickboxing. Like, there's a variety of disciplines in there, yeah, which is going to make life hell for a boxer who only practice with their hands. Do you know what I mean? So, Alex Pereira coming over to boxing, fighting arguably one of the greatest fighters of all time, undisputed champion in 2 weight divisions, Oleksandr Usyk, Alex Pereira is going to get smoked, man. He's going to get knocked out. Do you know what I mean? He just hasn't got that technique here to make that jump, man. Don't get me twisted. Alex Pereira he's a combat sports person. He's a fighter. He's a warrior, but he's not gonna be able to make up the skills and experience to go against Usyk. It's just not gonna happen. Do you know what I mean? Usyk is levels above. Guys in boxing, world champions in boxing can't even beat Usyk. Do you know what I mean? So around a UFC fight is definitely not gonna do that. Do you know what I mean? But it all depends, yeah, on what really happens next with Usyk. Do you know what I mean? Like, if Usyk goes in there in his next fight against Daniel Dubois, for example, yeah, and Usyk beats Daniel Dubois and he becomes 2 times undisputed, the only way the boxing fans are going to accept that fight for him to fight Alex Pereira in a fantasy fight, crossover fight, is if he relinquishes the belt. You know what I mean? If he gives up the belt and say, you know what, guys, I've achieved 2 times undisputed. I'm good. I'm done with it. Here are the belts. I'm giving them up. Do you know what I mean? Let other fighters fight for it. That's when the boxing fans will say, you know what? Fair enough, Usyk. You go and do your thing. You deserve it. Go make millions. Fight Alex Pereira as your final fight. You deserve it. Do you know what I mean? But if Oleksandr Usyk, yeah, was to want to keep those belts, which I don't think they will allow him to, the governing bodies will definitely force a mandatory on him if he wants to continue fighting. Like, there's no way we can give him a break to fight Alex Pereira and duck the likes of Joseph Parker, who's been waiting in the wings for how long now? Do you know what I mean? Joseph Parker deserves a title fight. You cannot sideline Joseph Parker again, duck him, deny him an opportunity to fight for a title, to fight for undisputed, and you go fight a UFC guy. It's just not going to be accepted by the boxing fans, man. You're going to see a big backlash. Even right now, people are very angry. Fans are very angry with the fact that Joseph Parker hasn't got his opportunity at the title. That Daniel Dubois, Oleksandr Usyk, they seem to be ignoring Joseph Parker. The promoters disrespecting Joseph Parker, not putting respect on Joseph Parker's name. Fans are angry about that. Now, if Usyk was to beat Dubois and say, yo, I'm going to keep the belts, but let me fight Alex Pereira first, man, fans are going to go mad, innit? They're going to go mad. But if Usyk in the next fight was to lose to Dubois and he loses all his belts, Dubois becomes undisputed, yeah, no one will really care if Usyk decides to fight Alex Pereira as his last fight. But I don't think that'll have the same aura, innit? Do you know what I mean? It might just diminish that fight a little bit. Because I feel like people watch the Alex Pereira versus Usyk fight if Usyk is still undefeated. The people like, as much as we say like, nah, Alex Pereira has no chance, people still tune in here to actually see like whether some random UFC guy can do what no other boxer has been able to do, and that's to beat Oleksandr Usyk. Even though it's not going to happen, only in fairyland. But people are still going to tune in to watch that. Do you know what I mean? But it's fascinating, man. The reason why I'm just talking about this today is because even Ring Magazine themselves posted on their X account asking the fans whether they would like to see Oleksandr Usyk and Alex Pereira square off in a ring. And who owns Ring Magazine? Turki Alalshikh. So Ring Magazine are testing the waters. They're trying to test the temperatures of the fans, see where the fans are, see whether fans actually have an appetite for another crossover fight. That's what Ring Magazine are doing. And Turki Alalshikh, he's got a big plan. He knows what he's doing. Maybe Turki Alalshikh wants to grant Oleksandr Usyk his wish, his final wish to have a crossover fight with Alex Pereira. But I tell you what, it's going to be very controversial if Joseph Parker is sidelined again, if they duck him, he doesn't get a title fight, and Alex Pereira gets to have a crack at Usyk. It's going to be very, very controversial, man. Do you know what I mean? You might even get some people boycotting, man. It's dangerous territories. As much as I'm a combat sports fan and I love MMA as well, Alex Pereira is a great fighter. I wouldn't mind watching that fight against him and Usyk. Do you know what I mean? But as long as it's not to the detriment of a worthy opponent who's a boxer. Someone like Joseph Parker. He's a worthy opponent for Usyk. Or Dubois. Do you know what I mean? Like, let's stop sidelining this guy. Let's actually give Joseph Parker the respect that he deserves and give him that title shot. Do you know what I mean? But listen, I'm going to leave you at that, man. Let me know in the comments, man. What do you think of this fantasy crossover fight between Oleksandr Usyk, the heavyweight champion of the world in boxing, undisputed at cruiserweight, undisputed at the heavyweight division, taking on the light heavyweight champion in the UFC, Alex Pereira? What do you think of that crossover fight? What are the chances for Alex Pereira? Like, what do you think? How do you see him faring? How do you see him doing? Do you even think he lands a punch on Usyk? We've seen this movie before. We've seen Francis Ngannou, who was actually, to be fair to Francis Ngannou, he did way better than McGregor did against Mayweather. Francis Ngannou actually cracked Tyson Fury and dropped him. Do you know what I mean? And many people, in many people's eyes, they actually believe that Francis Ngannou even won that fight. He beat Tyson Fury. But Tyson Fury won. He won on the judges' scorecards. Do you know what I mean? So let me know in the comments, man. Do you actually want to see that fight, and how do you see it, guy? Let me know in the comments. Let's have that conversation. I really appreciate it. Once again, thank you so much for watching EMGM Sports. I'm your boy Enzo. Please don't forget to smash the like button. And if you're new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe, because that's how you're going to help us to grow. I'll be back real soon with another one. Until then, stay blessed. Peace.